We're in the Hills district, so it's a very up and coming area. Lots of new developments, lots of houses that are being built, apartments being built.
This is a familiar routine for Jenna Northey and her son each weekday morning in northwest Sydney.
I genuinely don't understand why it's so hard to get childcare. There are so many childcare centres popping up around my suburb. On the way to my son's childcare, I would pass 10, 15 childcare centres and they're all full. I've been on the waiting lists for all of them for 2 years.
Jenna's commute to work into central Sydney is made longer by a 25-minute drive to her son's childcare centre.
I think the biggest impact has been onto my son because of that extra commute in the mornings and in the afternoons, and then getting home, it's dark. You know, if he wants to ride his scooter around after he gets home from daycare, it's too late. It's time for dinner and bed.
Jenna's in the process of moving to a new area in order to access childcare closer to home.
When the lady on the phone said that there was a spot, the first thing I pictured was not having to be stuck in that car for the commute for almost an hour out of our day. In regional and remote Australia, access to childcare can be non-existent.
My employer held the job for me for 6 months, and in the end I had to just forfeit the job so that they could actually find someone else to put in that position, and I just gave up on working until I got a daycare spot.
Yay! Emma Douglas and her family moved to Broome in early 2022, not realising the challenge they'd face in accessing this essential service.
There's 4 centres in Broome, so I was ringing them, once a week, once a fortnight, popping in several times just to try and say, hey, any movement on the list?
With no indication of how long her family would wait for a spot, they were left with pursuing informal babysitting options, often with backpackers.
There's not very many people around to do private babysitting, so it was very difficult for term 4 of last year, and I was doing lots of juggling and working from home and taking leave. I always had in the back of my mind the issue around duty of care and not having any sort of policies and contracts in place to fall back on if some sort of incident happened. Zip it up.
After over 2 years on wait lists, and just as the family considered leaving Broome over the issue, Emma's daughter Lulu finally got a place.
Now that she's got a place, I don't have to think about it again, and I don't have to every few months be posting on the Broome babysitting Facebook pages begging for a babysitter that can fit in with the days that I needed. And for Lulu's benefit as well, something that, she can actually have that's consistent for her, that she can actually get used to and start to enjoy.
There are just too many families that have to engage in ridiculous struggles to try and find a place for their children, and some of them just give up because it's too expensive or too hard.
Former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherall is now chairing an initiative of the Minderoo Foundation, calling for an overhaul of the childcare system. The philanthropic foundation promotes change to entrenched social problems.
We need a new funding model for the early education care system in this country. It does belong in the education system. We've got to take it simply out of a system of workforce participation. This is too important to just leave to the market. We need a strong public managed system, and we need the government to step up and provide that.
On the other side of the world, a weekday scene that could be any Australian home.
Normally children wake up maybe around 7 a.m. We get them ready, we wash our teeth, and we put our clothes on, and then it's maybe about 8 a.m. when we are ready to leave. The daycare is about 700 meters from our home, so the way is pretty short, and well, because it's winter time at the moment in Finland, and now it's like almost 15 Celsius degrees below zero, so then we go by car, but sometimes we also walk.
In Finland, the way early education services are funded, run and accessed by families is very different to Australia.
I had very high expectations because I knew how the daycare system in Finland works, and I knew that it works very well. So I was pretty sure to have my children to the daycare that is very near to us and that everything would go smoothly.
So in Finland we would have the subjective right for children to get early childhood education, which means that the parents are guaranteed a placement for their child in early childhood education whenever there is a need for that one.
In Australia, local councils operate limited childcare services. But in Finland, the sector is majority run by local government. Monthly fees depend on a family's income. Fees are capped at €300 for the wealthy, the equivalent of just under $500. The lowest income families pay just €28, which is less than $50. Access is guaranteed from 9 months of age for all children.
Yeah, you would say there's like one daycare center in every corner.
The municipality tries to place the children as close to the home as possible, and that's for the benefit of the child as well as for the family.
Finland isn't immune to the global shortage of early childhood educators or achieving pay equal to school teachers.
We do have the same challenges and we do have the same problems, but it's in a smaller scale, I would say. So we do have a problem, like the lack of early childhood education teachers in Finland, just like you have in Australia, the attractiveness of the workforce.
Last year, the Treasurer tasked the Productivity Commission with setting out a path to achieving universal early childhood education and care. The final report will be released mid-year, with the goal of charting a system that's as universal as Medicare and superannuation.
We have a right to send our kids to primary school and high school in an area that's close to home, and I don't see why childcare should be any different.
I don't think it's any accident it was front and centre at the last federal election campaign. I don't think it's any accident that the Prime Minister's committed himself to this reform. I think the next step is delivering it, making it real.